podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
We're the only nation that has been competitive in every single event, and we've had some great performances in every single event. I think this is the first time we have had people who have been competitive in all four of the road events. We've been fantastic on the mountain bike, we've been fantastic on the BMX, both freestyle and racing, topping the medal charts here from a track cycling perspective as well. Something for everyone, and hopefully something for the future.
British Cycling Performance Director Stephen Park after all the success in the Olympics. But Paris 2024 isn't done yet, as the French capital prepares to stage its first ever Paralympics. I'm John.
And I'm Michael. 17 riders and 6 pilots have been picked to represent Paralympics GB in the velodrome and on the road this summer. And coming up, we'll hear from some of them and look ahead to what's in store. This is a special episode of the podcast with British Cycling.
Tokyo, despite all of its challenges 3 years ago, was the most successful Paralympic Games ever for British cycling. 24 medals, every rider winning a medal.
So for Paris, 7 reigning champions return to defend their titles. There's new faces and debutants too. Competing at the Paralympic Games for the first time, reigning C2 individual pursuit world champion Daphne Schrager will race in the C13 individual pursuit on the track, as well as the road race and the time trial. Debutant Fran Brown will compete in those two, and the C13 500 metres time trial. Well, I say debutant, but as Fran's been explaining to John, she's not new to the Paralympics.
I did Tokyo, but I did the Tokyo Games with triathlon and then made the switch to cycling. So to make the Paralympics team as part of the cycling team is, it's amazing. And for it to be a really exciting games that's, just around the corner is, I'm just really excited.
And Fran, is it the case you wanted to focus on one event or one discipline, one sport in effect? Because when you do the triathlon, you're kind of doing 3 sports.
Yeah, well, it's far simpler. I'm training for one thing than it is for 3. But my hand was slightly forced to switch into cycling because I couldn't sustain running due to I've got Crohn's, and my Crohn's didn't like me running. So I kind of had to switch. It was switch or retire. And I'd been with cycling with the foundation program before I even went to triathlon. So going back to my roots seemed like the right decision. So now it is much simpler.
And the fact that it must be easier on your joints, but it's hard. I mean, cycling's not easy. Let's be honest.
No, it has its own challenges, but it's far easier on kind of joints for me as a spinal injured person. The impact is far less, and also my gut doesn't mind the high intensity efforts of cycling. I think it was more the jiggling around running that was the problem. So cycling is way more sustainable, and therefore way more enjoyable.
Tokyo was a Paralympic Games, but Paris is going to be a real Paralympic Games. And do you understand what I mean by that?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. Tokyo for me felt it was a massive honor to represent the team and be part of Paralympics GB, but it didn't feel like a Paralympics. It felt like being a disparate part of a bigger team that was never together. And having no supporters and no crowds at the event. Triathlons are a lot. We didn't have a lot of crowds a lot of the time. So it just felt like a normal race, like a normal World Cup or a normal World Championships. We got a little hint in Glasgow what it's like to be in a fully packed velodrome. And even on the road, there were more supporters out than there's ever been at a triathlon I've done. So being part of something that's actually going to be like proper, fully attended, fully supported games with crowds and stuff will be amazing. And that's why I was really excited to get selected, because having the experience of being able to have the pride in wearing the kit and representing your country when there is that crowd and audience to watch on a world stage is brilliant. It's going to be amazing.
Fran Brown speaking to John. Competition for places on the British team at the Paralympics has been fierce again. Current Paralympic and World Individual Pursuit Champion Jacco van Gas will once again go head-to-head with Paralympics GB teammate Finn Graham in the C3 category. And Finn hoping to better his 2 silvers that he won 3 years ago in Tokyo.
Getting to go to my second games, which I'd never thought would have happened. It was a dream come true going to a first one. But getting to go to a second one is like just as special, if not more, because it'll be the first one that friends and family get to come out and watch after obviously what the whole kind of COVID games in Tokyo. So getting to experience it's like I'm going to our first games, really getting to experience the whole kind of like atmosphere and the support, and it'll be an amazing experience again.
But Finn, there won't be much downtime for you because I think you're in 5 events, aren't you?
Yeah, potentially. So it'll be a pretty busy kind of busy couple of weeks. But no, I prefer it like that because like yeah, just I love the racing, so it's just nice to kind of be racing because otherwise you're then just sitting about getting nervous for the next one. But then when you're kind of like constantly racing, it's like yeah, you're constantly kind of in the zone, like looking to the next event and everything. So no, I prefer the more racing than just doing like one or two.
Last time at the Paralympics in Tokyo, you won your double silver, but and you broke the world record for a very short time, as it says, as you remind everyone on your
Yeah.
social medias. How difficult is it? And that's with your teammate Jaco van Gas.
Yeah.
How difficult is it having a teammate who's actually the main rival?
Yeah, no, it's again, it's as I say, it's like it's a blessing and a curse. Like you know that it's like again, I wouldn't want to lose to anyone. Like if you could lose to anyone, you'd lose to your teammate. But then in training, having him there, you're able to kind of like see how you're going compared to him, and you know that like we push each other on because obviously like if he's not on it, like he'll be able to see like he sees what I'm doing, and it's kind of like we're both like pushing each other to get the best out of ourselves. And it is like we are the kind of like the past couple of years at the World Championships, we've constantly been first and second, and obviously at the Games it was first and second. So I'm hoping that it'll be like that again this time, but maybe just with a bit of a different result.
And is there an event out of the 5 that you're doing where you're kind of thinking, oh, surely that's the banker. Surely that's the one I'm going to get that one.
It's hard because again, it's like it's the ones that everyone always wants. Like at the Games, it's the one that everyone wants. And like I'm going into it as defending world champion, but again, it's a road race. Like there's so many kind of variables that could happen within the race that could like you could like touch wood, you could crash going in the first corner, or you could puncture or something that like takes you out of the race. I think the timed events are the ones that you can kind of predict a bit more with like the individual pursuit on the track or the TT out on the road. But I would definitely not kind of say that like there's a banker event. But obviously, like I'm confident going into it. Like since Tokyo, I've won 6 world titles. I've won like multiple world cups, European championships. So I feel like I'm in a really good position going into this. But again, as I said, it only comes around once every 4 years or 3 years, and it's the one that everyone wants to win. Like everyone will be on the best form they've ever been in. And it's why it's such a kind of big event to win, is because it's so hard.
British cycling boasts incredible strength and depth, particularly in the tandem events, with defending individual pursuit champion Laura Facki and her pilot Corinne Hall, 2-time Paralympic and 10-time World 1,000 metre time trial champion Neil Facki, together with his pilot Matt Rotherham, and having taken a silver and a bronze medal at their first Games in Tokyo, Sophie Unwin and Jenny Hull are now vying for Paralympic gold.
I mean, the big news is we've been selected for the Paris Paralympics.
Yeah, it's super exciting. This will be our second Paralympics together. So,
does it feel different?
It does a bit because our first Paralympics was Tokyo, and we were a really last-minute entry to that. We'd only been on the bike together for a couple of months, so I think Tokyo, we didn't really know what we were doing. We were just thrown into it, and we're just sort of taking it day by day, trying to soak it all in. Whereas I think now we kind of feel like we know what we're doing and we know a bit more what we're expecting. I think for us, we've not really noticed the shorter cycle. So I only started cycling in August 2020. So I had a year from going to a talent ID to go into Tokyo. So a 3-year cycle to me feels really long. So yeah, for me, I don't know any different, really. I think the next cycle I'll be going, oh God, 4 years is a long time to wait for a Games.
And of course, you won bronze and silver in Tokyo. I think that means there's 1 medal missing.
Yeah. I mean, we would like to get the full set. Yeah, definitely. And again, I think this time, with the results we've had over the last 3 years, that is a realistic possibility for us. We've just got to hope we pull it out on the day.
We were on everything. So we were riding all 4 of the events available to us. We ride the kilo and the pursuit on the track, and then we switch over to the road and we'll do the time trial and the road race.
And Jenny, is there any difference? I'm assuming road is different from track.
Yeah, definitely. It's there's a lot more, I'd say a lot more of a question mark around the road. Like the track, you can be pretty assured coming in of like where you're at. It's much more predictable, whereas the road is, you know, especially the road races, anything could happen and anyone could win almost. Like, yeah, it's more exciting in that way, I guess. Yeah, less predictable.
Final question. Paris is obviously not that far away. I don't mean in terms of weeks. I mean in terms of distance. How important is it that Paris puts on a brilliant Paralympics?
I think it's going to be huge. Like, for a lot of athletes, like London was a massive, but London was 12 years ago. For a lot of athletes, this is the closest thing we'll have had in the duration of our careers to a home games. So for that, it's massive. And particularly, I think, following up from Tokyo, where we had no friends and family there, no spectators, like, this is going to be massive.
And as we heard in that terrific interview, Sophie and Jenny were newbies 3 years ago. Debutants Matt Robertson, Archie Atkinson and Blaine Hunt are competing in the Paralympics for the first time, hoping to make it onto the podium across both the road and the track. And Blaine has admitted to us he can't wait.
You know, when Tokyo didn't happen, it was a lot like process and take on, but it just meant that I knew what I was going for, and that is Paris. You know, you just shift the goalposts 4 years' time, and you know, a lot of work's gone in. It means a lot to be sitting here. It doesn't quite feel real, so I can't say it's a mix of emotions, because it just feels like it's just a dream, really. Like, you know, I'm just living the dream.
And you will have known for a few days anyway, a few weeks maybe, that you were going to go, and you would have told a few people. But this is when the world find out, effectively.
Yeah, I was worried after I told my mum that the world had found out. It reached America at one point. Bless her, she likes to share the good news, and you know, call me. It's all right if she tells them on the phone, but then, you know, when I hear about it through my nan, that, you know, family members in America know about it, and then my nan's heard about it, you know, I have to curb enthusiasm.
Yeah, indeed. And Blaine, you're coming into such a successful British cycling Paralympic team. Does that feel pressure, or do you feel, no, I'm here and I'm part of it?
I don't really think about the success. I don't really think about my own success. For me, I focus on having a good time and enjoying myself, and that lifts the pressure off of me. If I'm able to enjoy myself and be present in what I'm doing, it doesn't matter about the results. It doesn't matter about what's happened in the past, because all I'm focused on is what I'm doing here and now. And that is enjoying myself and doing what I love to do. And so, yeah, I can't really say I feel pressure about the success of the team, because I'm just enjoying every moment of what I've been gifted to be able to do.
That was Blaine Hunt. Now, Jodie Cundy heads to Paris for an 8th Paralympic Games, whilst Dame Sarah Story returns for a remarkable 9th Paralympic Games appearance, the most ever for a British athlete. And John has been catching up with Dame Sarah and hearing how she's been enjoying watching the Olympics in preparation for the Paralympics.
It's hugely inspiring to watch other people and going through what you'll be going through yourself a few weeks later. You can identify with their emotion. You can kind of imagine, the environment that they're in, and you also get a sense of the event. And I think I find it hugely helpful. I've never not watched the Olympics. I remember being at our team kitting out for Barcelona, watching Sally Gunnell win in Barcelona, and then Linford, and and it's just like, you remember those moments from the Olympics as you're preparing for your own events, because they are so important, and they kind of define the start of the summer, really, and then it's our job to kind of take it on after that.
And your job to defend 2 titles?
That's right. So the road time trial on the 4th of September and the road race on the 6th of September. I need to, now that I'm officially selected, send a note into school to make permission for Louisa and Charlie not to be attending the first couple of days. So yeah, it's hugely exciting.
You're obviously on form. You always are going into these events, and you and Barney make sure that you are. But is there any time in the back of your mind where it's like, someone at some point is going to take this away from me?
Well, absolutely, that's going to happen. Somebody's going to be better than me one day, and that's life and sport. I think for me, it's about focusing on what you can control, knowing what you need to do to be in the best shape possible. So I've just come back from a big training block. I've got a few races over the next 2.5 weeks. Then I have a second big training block. And I always go and train in the hardest place to train with the most wind and no freewheeling sections. And it's really hot because you need that level of stress to make sure that you're on tip-top shape. So I'll be back out in Lanzarote in the middle of August, and then trying to go in as late as possible to the games, because one of the downsides, I suppose, is the older your engine is, the less time it needs to rest. It's kind of, you're a diesel with a bit of firepower for the sprint. So my taper doesn't last 6 weeks like some athletes will have. My taper is 6 hours. So for me, it's very fine tuning, and I've learned that over a number of years and games, and lessons I learned in swimming I brought into cycling, and tried and tested methods. And right from my first games as a cyclist, I came home from the games in Beijing early so I could race national track championships, because I was experimenting with the length of that taper. So I've always been looking for kind of new ways and new opportunities to check whether it's going to work for me. But now we've done all the checking. We've got, we've got everything lined up. We've obviously got resilience built into the plan in case something goes wrong. And we've just got to go in there and give it, be on the start line in the best shape possible.
Final question. London 2012 was a huge moment for the movement, for the Paralympics, for everyone at British Cycling as well. Can Paris 2024 kick that on a little bit?
Without a doubt. I think one of the things that London 2012 wanted to do is it wanted to change perception of disabled people and the opportunities disabled people haven't moved on as much as everyone wanted and had ambition for. So people view disabled athletes in a completely different way. Well, translating that to societal change means that we have to provide a parallel opportunity for people to be supported, provided with opportunity, and successful in the place that they are, because not all people are athletic. So providing a sporting opportunity to somebody who's not interested in sport is no use at all. So Paris has this opportunity to kind of fix the bit that was missing, because we know disabled people are capable of amazing things, but so many of them don't receive the support to enable them to thrive. And if we can provide that support to enable them to thrive and to learn the lessons that didn't happen in the way we hoped they might happen in London. And I did say, I think we're expecting too much of this Paralympic Games, because it's a sporting event. It's an elite sporting event. We have to join those dots to society in a very clever and strategic way. But what we have done is had a platform to talk about that. And I really hope that more athletes can use that platform to point out the direction that we need to travel. And sort of in my day job working in transport, I'm forever saying, how does this affect a person with a disability who can't use those steps? Is that signage in the right place for someone with a disability who will never have been that route if you're diverting people because a bus stop's closed or a tram line is closed? So I'm forever talking about this day to day. And I think the fact that we are aware of that, we didn't mend it in the way that we hoped, but we can now. And Paris has that chance to kind of really lead the way again and hopefully make lives for people who aren't athletic but are disabled better.
Absolutely. Well said. Dame Sarah Story, as always, a pleasure. Thank you so much. Good luck out there.
Thank you.
The brilliant Dame Sarah Story talking to the brilliant John Cushing. That's British Cycling. 23 athletes, aged between 20 and 47. With 59 Paralympic Games appearances between them, including this one in Paris, and competing over 4 days on the track and 3 days on the road. You can find out more about the team at the website britishcycling.org.uk, and we say good luck to the entire team.
This has been a special edition of the podcast with British Cycling, and the Paris 2024 party continues.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.